Hi, so far this is the only way I know how to show a photograph at the beginning of the video, and that's to take a photo of what I'm copying. This is a scene from an area near Beddington Park in southeast London, or Surrey. It's on the borders, it's pleasant suburbia anyway. And it shows a piece of wasteland, a very large piece of wasteland, which is being quarried at the moment for sand and gravel, and being filled in and re-landscaped, because eventually it would be part of a much larger park area linking up to other parks, Mitcham Common, which I've been demonstrating, and Beddington Park. This is a massive piece of land that is not generally open to the public, but slowly it's coming on stream, and this is quite an ordinary view, but we're going to make a picture from it. So I'll put my laptop over here and hope I don't jog the camera, which is precariously perched by my left shoulder, and I hope you will be able to see okay. Now, as usual, wet the paper with very liberal amount of water, cleanish water, so that the paper expands uniformly and we can reclip it as we go. So the background is just some scrubby trees with some very nice larger trees growing from them. Oak trees, horse chestnuts. There's an area of water which is mostly now used by seagulls. There's a bit of an island which I'm going to leave out, which I don't really like, but I'm just going to paint a horizon across here, some middle distance which is just like reedy sort of grass area, and water down here, and a bit of a bank here with some whatever grasses you get by the side of this type of landscape. I'm not very good on my botany, but then I don't need to be. So the day was quite bright, so we'll paint some sort of blue sky, but first of all go in with some raw sienna. This gives a sort of a background to the sky, bring it into the water, and I'm using the hake, and I'm also using a large piece of folded rag to keep the excess water off the hake. Now I'm going to go straight into that with some ultramarine, just to show some blue sky, leaving some areas unpainted, and bring this into the water area. It's started to expand already, so we'll reclip it. I've just done another demonstration of 3 trees using the hake and trying to control the amount of water in it, which is I know is a problem for a lot of people trying this out. Now there's still a shine on the paper. The weather here at the moment is sleet and very grey. I'm going to see if I can improve my lighting by just putting this bulb on, this daylight bulb. Probably not. No, it's shining off the. No, it's not going to work. It's shiny. It's reflecting off of the shiny, watery surface of the paper here. So we hope the authorities at YouTube can improve the lighting if it's a bit deficient. Right, I'm going to put in some trees in the background here, using a mixture of blues, lemon yellow, ultramarine, raw sienna, and just just show this here. That needs to be a bit darker, really. Darken it. I've mixed in some light red. And there are shadows coming over this area here, so I'll put those in towards the end. But I want a darker green in there now. So lemon yellow, Payne's grey. So although the leaves are slowly turning into autumn colours, you do get quite a bit of green shrubby trees stuff. So we'll use a bit of raw sienna in the mix. Right, okay. Now some really dark greens now. Whenever you put on the wet paper, however intense, it always lessens as it dries. So you can overcompensate. You can always paint a bit darker than you think it's going to dry to make up for that. Right, they're looking all a bit samey there, so we'll just change the shapes. Right, okay. Now there were trunks coming out of this, so I'll just scrape some out. I can continue these with paint a bit later on. Right, okay. I'm going to put in now the bank here, which was a sort of raw sienna burnt umber, but quite light in tone. And I hope that will dry. So I'll vary the colours with the raw sienna. Okay, it didn't come down too far, but it had quite a hard in shadow bank area. So for that I'll use a bit of ultramarine mixed with the burnt umber. And that would be reflecting into the water, so we can put that in. I put a bit of an island in here, but it had the shape of it was going uphill, but I don't think it helps the composition. So we'll show some earthy bits, muddy bits coming in front of this area here. All right, and as that dries, I'm going to put just a little bit of shadow in the bottom of these tree areas here. Well, that's still a bit wet, so I hope it works. I'm going to use ultramarine and light red, and I hope it bleeds down into the lighter area, because I want that a bit indistinct, to try to give the impression that we're looking here at tips of grasses. I don't know if it will work, but I can darken it a bit more when I put the shadow in. Well, I could try to put the shadow in now, but I don't know if it'll register. I'll wait a bit later. Okay, right. Okay, now I'll put a bank in here. And that was quite green on top of there. That coming across here. I'm not going to put the reflections in yet, because we're drying off and it won't bleed enough into the wet paper. So I'll wait till it's perfectly dry, and then I'll go back. I'll re-wet the paper, which you can do, and I see that the water is congealing at the bottom of gathering at the bottom of the page. I'll just reclip this, so you can see you can really soak the paper, let it expand, but just by reclipping it, it goes all nice and flat again. Look at that. It's a problem overcome. Put a little bit of green, some light green, palette green. That's a lemon yellow and what's around it. And it's a bit too wet. That. Right, okay. I'm going to darken behind here. That'll all be in shadow. Okay, let that go. Right, okay. I don't think that's quite dry enough yet to put in some the trees coming up here, the big horse chestnut. One's lost most of its leaves, but I'll give it a bit of a dry with the hairdryer. I only use a hairdryer for this because, as you can see, I don't have a lot to dry these days. Right, okay, so put some dark oaky type trees. I don't know what they are, too far away. So burnt umber, good tree colour mixed with ultramarine and the hake. No rigor. Fairly dry. Fairly dry. We just have them coming out. I can strengthen this up a bit when it's a bit dry. I won't get them coming out too much. This area is used by bird watchers, but it's fenced off at the moment with chain link fencing because it's still quite dangerous, and health and safety being what it is. But we take these photographs of this bit of the park from a bicycle track or pedestrian track, very rough, and it goes through lovely, I hope too many local people don't watch this, past some lovely blackberry picking areas, cherry plums. Look, furnish my freezer. There's one coming up there. But if too many people know where it is, I lose my source of larder fodder. Right, okay. Now here we've got these, you've got bits and pieces of trees coming up here. I'm going to put some clothes on these, because otherwise it'll look a bit daft just left like that. Right, now the big one's coming up here. There are two of these. I think we have a tendency to make the trunks of our trees too thin, and in reality they wouldn't support the huge amount of foliage and conkers and things that are above them. So then there's this other beautiful tree here. Right. And some just bits and pieces of trees here. Right, that'll do. Now I'm going to, while those dry, I'll just go onto here and I'm going to use this piece of the brush here, the belly, not the tips, that bit. And I'm going to use a bit of Payne's grey, a bit of palette grey. The brush is dry. I'm just going to stroke and prod, touch, to give the shape, or if I can, of these. Touch too dry. Look, I'm trying to give the impression of lots of twigs and branches going here, because these are now bare late autumn trees. I think we took the photograph last November, October. So it'll take ages to do the small brush, wouldn't it? See, this lovely brush does so much work for you with the minimum of effort. Right, let's get those in. Just add a bit more dark at the bottom here. Now that one's still fairly green. The light is coming from behind this way coming out. So there are areas on the left side of the trees that are a bit in shadow. So first of all, paint the lights green on the sun side, like that. Get that in, and in there I'll put in some darker. Just to show the dark on one side. And I'll do the same one here. Now I think I need to strengthen up in this area here. The trees are too strong for the background now. So there were dark greens, if you remember. And now that the paper's much drier and the brush is fairly dry, I'm going to put these dark greens in, and I'm just going to use what we call dry brush. The paint is dry enough on the brush just to hit and miss the surface of the paper. Okay, very dark this, and also we've got the shadows coming from the tree. Trying to give an impression of a bit of distance, but the shadow on the being cast by the trees in this area here. So now that is looking a bit better. I'll just clean my brush, move the hairdryer out of range of the water that I shake all over the place. Right, okay, so we'll put in the shadows under here now. For that I'm going to use I'm going to use ultramarine and a bit of light red. And that will give a shape, I hope, to this bit of a bank here. Oh, something like that. And I'll just get some nice dark in the base here, at the top of that bank. I think this area has a name. It's not Beddington Park. I think they call it the Water Meadows. It's on a floodplain. Right, okay. Now, I'm just going to dry that off. Well, I'm going to try to show at the base of the scrubby stuff that I showed you. I wish I could move the camera to show you on the computer, but I'll show you the photograph at the end. But I want to put a bank there. The bank doesn't really show behind the trees, but I'm going to use what am I going to use?
A vast virus database has been updated.
Well, that's very nice of him. Right, I'm going to use light red ultramarine for this bank, and I'm just going to just show up something like that. And I'm going to put some grasses coming up, and we'll put some more darks in there. So for the darks, real darks, I'm going to use Payne's grey and burnt umber. This gives a lovely warm dark. It doesn't really have a colour name, but it's just a dark. If I do it dark enough, I can scratch into it to show some right. Okay, some flicks of some grasses. I'll just move the clips back there while it's still damp. Just scratch some grasses into this. You can drag the paint up on the corner of this card into the landscape, or into the reflection of the water. I'll do some more, but let's just show some pebbly stuff. It is on the edge of a quarry. All this water area was land. It's now filled in sandpit, but it's been very well landscaped. A lot of birds, apart from seagulls, go there. Herons, shags. Right, I'll dry that off. Okay, bit of wet now. Back on this. Now the shadows. So just the colours that we've used. Just get a bit darker than that. Right. Okay. More dark in there, I think. Right, okay. So while that's wet and using the rigger, I'm going to use some dark and drag down some of these trees into the west of the reflection area. I've probably tried it a bit much, but never mind. Right, not perfect. I want to strengthen up the bank here in that middle distant bit of island landscaping. Oops. I can't say, oh sorry, I've took the camera, I can't say that That's exactly what I had in mind. Right, I'm just going to try that again and texture this foreground a bit. Dry the brush. And then touch with the yellows and show the grassy area. They're coming up quite high into the water there. I have a lot of fun with stippling, but you don't need to do too much. And I'll use the rigger just for pulling up into those heads of grasses, seeds. Right, okay, I'll give that a couple of, well, I'll give more than a couple because there are thousands of seagulls and things on this island, this pond. There are lots of other lakes or ponds being developed in the quarries. It's going to be lovely one day. Just put my signature. Right, I'll now put that in a mount to see what it looks like. Try not to disturb too much. Hold on. Just put it in the mount. It's not very colourful, I must say that. But then, as we approach winter, and you don't get a lot of colour in the landscape. And speaking personally, I don't like bright colours in my landscapes. I like the greys. It's not that I'm a grey personality or anything. But you can overkill with too much colour. You lose this thing called unity. Right, put that in there. Right, that's my idea of it. I'll just go down a bit more. I'll pull those out. Oops. No, second thoughts, I won't. Pull that down there. Right, that's my version. Sorry, I've altered the. I've knocked it. Okay, that's my version of it. And here's the computer version of it. Well, it's a demonstration, right? And I hope you've learned something from it. I'm reasonably happy with that. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Goodbye.